Episode 21, Ravenclaw Common Room. Oh, now that everyone is full, I want to say a few more words to everyone. After putting away all the uneaten food, Dumbledore stood up and faced the audience, and used magic to expand his voice to the whole audience. At the beginning of the semester, I want to give you a few points of attention. First-year students, please note that no students are allowed to enter the forest area on the school grounds. Of course, some of us old students should also remember this. Dumbledore deliberately glanced at Gryffindor. Since the two little guys entered the school, this school has been noisy. Also, the administrator, Mr. Filch, also asked me to remind everyone not to cast spells in the corridor during class breaks. The review of Quidditch players will be held in the second week of this semester. Any students who are interested in joining the college representative team should contact Ms. Hooch. After hearing this news, the scene instantly became noisy. Many students talked about how good their skills were and how it was unjust for the Quidditch team not to let them join. It can be seen that Quidditch is very popular in Hogwarts. Finally, I must tell everyone that if you don't want to encounter an accident or a painful death, please don't enter the corridor on the right side of the fourth floor. Ethan shook his head. Dumbledore started to set a trap for Voldemort. It was clear that there was something in the corridor on the right side of the fourth floor. If there was no such sentence last year, it would also indicate that it was not there before. At the same time, this news attracted more than just Voldemort. For those adventurous little wizards in Gryffindor, this is an adventure paradise, especially the twin brothers. Now, before everyone goes to bed, let's sing the school song together, Dumbledore said loudly. The smiles of other teachers seemed to freeze. As Dumbledore waved his wand, a golden ribbon floated in the air, twisting and coiling like a snake above the dining table, forming lines of text. Everyone chooses a tune they like. Ready, sing. So all the teachers and students stood up and sang loudly. The good school song was led astray by someone, not someone else, but the twin brothers again. Because they chose Funeral March. Freshmen, follow me, I will take you to the dormitory. Penelope stood up and gathered the newly enrolled young eagles. In fact, there were only 10 of them. Every year, Ravenclaw is the college with the fewest students, and this year is no exception. Walking out of the auditorium, through the long corridor, to the West Tower, and then there is a long spiral staircase, which looks steep and long, as if it is endless. Well, it is very Ravenclaw-like. Or it can be said that the dormitories of the 4 colleges have their own characteristics. Eagles fight in the sky, lions overlook the territory, venomous snakes like dark and humid, and honey badgers live underground. At the end of the spiral staircase, there is a wooden door without a handle. There is nothing on it except an eagle-shaped bronze door knocker inlaid on it. Unlike other colleges, we Ravenclaws can only enter if we answer the questions raised by this bronze door knocker correctly. Who among you will come and try? Penelope looked at the freshmen. Everyone looked at each other, and no one took the lead. Although those who can be assigned to Ravenclaw are all smart people, including smart ones such as Lockhart, they will not easily put themselves in a potentially embarrassing situation without fully understanding the situation. Ethan, do you want to try? After looking around, Penelope looked at the little wizard who had just chatted with her happily, and even called her by name. According to the characteristics of the hat, Ethan is likely to be the best little wizard among the 4 colleges this year. No problem. Ethan stepped forward and wanted to try the water. How can you not go out at night when you come to Hogwarts, and you must open the door after the night tour? It is impossible to wait for other little eagles to answer, and then follow them in like during the day. Knock on the door 3 times with the knocker, and it will ask a question. Ethan did as he was told. Suitable for proving the existence of a thing? A mysterious and magnetic voice sounded. Use it. Ethan replied affirmatively. Good answer. The knocker gave Ethan an affirmative answer and opened the door of the lounge. Penelope looked at Ethan with great appreciation. She had only seen Ethan among the freshmen who could answer the door ring question so quickly and accurately. Last year, the group of freshmen found the correct answer after thinking for a long time and trying and failing several times. Walking into the Ravenclaw common room, the interior presents a circular layout as a whole, with dark blue carpets on the floor, a dome with stars on the ceiling, elegant round windows on the wall, blue and bronze silk hanging, and a white marble statue of Rowena Ravenclaw in the middle of the lounge. Of course, the most eye-catching thing is the books. Bookshelves are neatly arranged on the walls around, and 80% of the shelves are filled with books. Some of these precious books were collected by students of Ravenclaw and chose to stay here after graduation, and some were donated by graduates and the contributions of the deans of all generations. After all the little wizards entered, Penelope stepped forward again and delivered the annual customary speech. First of all, welcome to Ravenclaw. It mainly talked about the glory of Ravenclaw, the glory of the college, and their own pursuits. In the previous life, Ethan had been full of all kinds of chicken soup and had no special feelings, but the little wizards on the side were quite excited. After the speech, Penelope also breathed a sigh of relief. Everything went smoothly today. And before leaving, he set a rule of Hogwarts, which is universal. Boys cannot enter the girls' dormitory, but girls can enter the boys' dormitory. Episode 22, Roommate. Ravenclaw's dormitory is a standard 4-person room. Bronze curtains hang above the 4 4-poster beds, and there are sky blue decorations around. Like the common room, the main colors are blue and bronze. Through the window of the room, you can clearly see the mountains and wilderness in the distance, as well as the Quidditch field below. There are 10 freshmen in Ravenclaw this year, and the boys just fill one dormitory. Terry Boot, who seems to have been sorted quite early, is a slightly thin black-haired boy who talks a lot. Michael Corner, who is tall and thin with brown hair, is more silent. Jean Croft, who is a little fat with blonde hair and likes to laugh. After putting away the luggage and washing up, Ethan climbed into bed. We definitely can't go out at night today. The stairs in Hogwarts will move, and we are not familiar with the road. It is a problem whether we can come back after going out. Before this summer, I couldn't imagine that there would be such a day that I would be a wizard. My parents are ordinary people. My father works in a bank and my mother is a full-time housewife. When I received the admission letter, I thought it was a prank. But fortunately, Professor Sprout came to explain everything, otherwise I might not be able to come to Hogwarts. Terry Boot leaned on the bed and said to the two of them excitedly. He was excited to enter the magical world for the first time. As for me, I don't know if I am half-blood. My mother's wizard was also born to Muggles. She said that after graduating from Hogwarts, she returned to the Muggle world. My father is just an ordinary person. It's just that before receiving the admission letter, my mother never revealed her identity as a wizard. The moment she said it, my father was scared. Also, my mother originally studied at Hufflepuff, and I thought I would go to Hufflepuff too. Michael Corner was not so excited. On the contrary, he was a little worried. I learned from my mother that it is not easy for Muggle-born wizards to find jobs after graduating from Hogwarts, and even if they find jobs, they are not good positions, so not many Muggle wizards can stay in the wizarding world. For example, his mother has not used a wand for more than 10 years. That day, in order to prove that she was a wizard, his mother searched for a wand at home, and finally found it in the innermost utility room. My parents are both wizards. My mother graduated from Slytherin and my father graduated from Gryffindor. Now they both work in the Ministry of Magic. My father said that it was my mother who chased her first. Before I came in, they were still discussing whether I would go to Gryffindor or Slytherin. I didn't expect. Jean Croft, listening to him, Ethan always felt that this was a standard template of a protagonist from a wizard family, especially if he had some talent. My situation is the same as Terry's. My family is ordinary people. Professor McGonagall came to answer the admission. Ethan also briefly talked about his situation. By the way, Ethan, you spent more than 10 minutes on the sorting today. I heard from the seniors next to you that it was a joke. How did you do it? Terry was a little curious about this. He learned from others that this was a very remarkable thing. I didn't do anything. It was just that the sorting hat was struggling with which house I should go to. Ethan would naturally not say that the sorting hat was telling him about Azkaban. The sorting hat is so confused that it must be suitable for multiple houses. You must be very good. No wonder the seniors are so excited. Terry sighed. He had just put on the hat for only 2 or 3 seconds, and it was confirmed. However, it was not bad to be sorted into Ravenclaw. Next, the 4 of them talked about many topics, from Diagon Alley, Gringotts, choosing wands, holiday life to today's Hogwarts Express. But most of the time it was Terry who talked, and Ethan, Michael, and Jean occasionally echoed a few words. But not long after, the dormitory gradually became quiet. At first, Michael fell asleep, and then Jean stopped moving. Terry couldn't stand it anymore, and after saying goodnight to Ethan, he also fell asleep. Rushed to the station early in the morning, and then took the train for more than 10 hours. Now that he was full, he was prone to sleepiness. It was good to be able to hold on until now. Ethan was staring at his panel at this moment. Since entering Hogwarts, he has completed a total of 2 achievements. Hogwarts. Hogwarts, 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 Hogwarts. Please teach us knowledge. Whether we are bald old men or children with broken knees, our minds can accept some interesting mistakes because our brains are empty, full of air, dead flies, and trivialities. Teach us some valuable knowledge. Give us back what we have forgotten. You just need to work hard and leave the rest to us. We will study hard until it turns into dung. Achievement goal. Arrive at Hogwarts, January 1st. Achievement reward. Random talent. Ravenclaw. We come from the lakeside. We are wise and knowledgeable. We love to study. We are different from ordinary people. We are farsighted. We never give up. We are Ravenclaw. Achievement goal. Join Ravenclaw Academy, 1/1. Achievement reward. Thinking ability, spell talent, alchemy talent are improved. This reward is a bit generous. The talent ability is definitely better than the reward of a magic. And the reward for joining Ravenclaw can only be said to be great. Ethan already has a double learning talent improvement, as well as bonus wizard talent, double black magic talent, and potion talent. Now he has gained improvements in thinking ability, spell talent, and alchemy talent. I can only say that this buff is too thick. This random talent is also good. Flame affinity improves the control and power of fire magic. The deeper the understanding of fire magic, the greater the improvement. This world does not divide any elemental magic, but there are magic involving various elements. There are relatively many fire ones, such as the Fierce Fire spell, Fire Escape Protection, and Fire God Opening the Way. Ethan was most impressed by Grindelwald's gas stove, which is really powerful and gorgeous. Thanks to the Big Brother phone in the Kieran for 3 monthly tickets. Thank you very much. Episode 23. Who can refuse this? The next day, just after 7 o'clock, Ethan woke up early from his sleep. This has become a habit. Taking out the schedule that was delivered with the gift yesterday, Ethan found that the courses at Hogwarts were arranged quite easily. There are 8 courses: charms, transfiguration, potions, herbology, defense against the dark arts, flying, history of magic, and astronomy. Flying, history of magic, and astronomy are all 1 class per week, and the rest are 2 classes per week. Each class is 1 hour long, and there is a half-hour break between the next class. Except for the 2 consecutive classes during potions, other classes are separated. Class time is from 9 to 11:30 in the morning and from 1:30 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The astronomy class is on Wednesday night. The 4 colleges all have classes together. There are only about 70 freshmen in total, and 1 classroom can accommodate them completely. Besides, if they were separated, there would be only 1 professor for each subject, but he would have to teach 7 grades, and there would be 2 groups of 14 classes. Many professors also have other duties, such as the dean. As the dean, he would have to deal with some affairs of his own college. When teaching, he would have to prepare lessons, correct homework, and prepare for exams. If you count it this way, the professors would not be able to survive. Even cattle and horses cannot be used like this. There was only 1 transfiguration class this morning, which started at 9 o'clock. It was still early. The other 3 were still sleeping soundly, and Ethan did not wake them up. He washed up and left the dormitory. "Senior, good morning." When he came to the common room, Ethan saw Penelope at a glance. Of course, in addition to her, there were also several seniors, each holding a book and reading. They were all really diligent. "Morning, Ethan. Are you used to living in Ravenclaw's dormitory?" Penelope raised her head and greeted Ethan with a smile. "It feels okay. I don't like beds." Ethan sat down next to Penelope and saw the book Standard Spells V in her hand. "It's 7:30. Let's go and have breakfast with senior sister." Penelope stood up and stretched, revealing her perfect curves. She is really well developed at the age of 16 and has no lack of nutrition. Senior sister got up early to read books? Following Penelope, Ethan asked curiously. Getting up at 6 o'clock to read books is not too early. Then he added, "This year, there will be O, W, L, and S exams. I also want to get O in all subjects. I can't do it without being serious." "Senior sister, it should be no problem. Being able to be a prefect is enough to prove their excellence, especially the prefect of Ravenclaw. A mere exam will definitely not be difficult for them." O, W, L, and S exams are ordinary wizard-level exams, which are held in the 5th year and are directly related to the study of subsequent courses. There is also an N, E, W, T, S exam in the 7th grade, which is a senior wizard exam. The results of this exam are directly related to the development after graduation. Only those who get high scores can become core members of the Ministry of Magic. This is indeed not very difficult, but forget it, I won't talk about it. Penelope lost interest after saying this. If it was just the exam, she would definitely be among the top students in her class, but it would not work when it comes to other aspects. So she can only improve her evaluation as much as possible to add more opportunities for herself after graduation. Ethan also knew what she wanted to say, but it was better to pretend that he didn't know. The class solidification of wizards is indeed too serious, much more serious than that of muggles. Soon, the two came to the auditorium. Whether it was a meeting, a meal, or a holiday celebration, they all came to this auditorium. The breakfast was just so, far less rich than last night: milk, oatmeal, boiled potatoes, bread, ham, eggs, bacon, take it yourself. There are a total of 142 staircases in Hogwarts. Some stairs will change. For example, you only want to go to the 3rd floor, but you arrive at the 5th floor. It is not uncommon for new wizards to be late because of this problem. It's still early now. I'll take you for a walk. After wiping her mouth elegantly, Penelope said to Ethan. Okay, thank you, senior sister. Of course, Ethan would not refuse such a good thing. After all, it's easy to travel at night if you are familiar with the roads of Hogwarts. There is no good without reason in this world. Penelope is so enthusiastic because of Ethan's idiocy. She wants to make as many connections as possible. However, she found that Ethan is not only handsome, but also speaks well and is quite pleasant to get along with. He is just a little younger, so he is more sincere and treats him as a friend. Among the 3 idiocies in this world, the dead Peter Pettigrew has obtained the 1st-class badge of the Merlin Knights. The remaining 2 are even more amazing. One is Professor McGonagall and the other is Professor Flitwick. Some news says that Flitwick is also an idiocy. He couldn't decide between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw and finally went to Ravenclaw, which is exactly the opposite of Professor McGonagall. Ethan, who has the same talent, may also be able to reach the same level as them. A professor of a college has a very high status in the wizarding world. Who among the graduates of this college doesn't buy them a little face? And the reason why Penelope is like this is that there is a bad precedent in the past. Penelope, who was born as a Muggle wizard, had a senior who took good care of her when she entered school. She was also born as a Muggle. After graduating 2 years ago, she was rejected by the Ministry of Magic for many interviews. Various large magic industries were unwilling to accept her. Finally, after working as a temporary worker in Hogsmeade Village for 3 months, she chose to leave the wizarding world. This summer vacation, Penelope also visited the senior and found that she was not living well in the Muggle world and became a cashier in a bakery. Now she is almost 20 years old, has not even finished junior high school, has no skills, can't use magic, and can't find a good job at all. However, the senior has adapted to the life of Muggles and started a relationship. But Penelope doesn't want to return to the Muggle world like the senior. She wants to change her fate. Don't walk along the wall on the staircase, otherwise the floor it will reach is completely random. And this, you can't run on the stairs. If you run, it will be out of place, and sometimes there will be a gap for people to fall. Okay, these are the moving stairs. Do you remember them? Remember, please help me, senior. It's no exaggeration to say that Ethan's memory is now photographic, and there is no pressure to remember the rules of these stairs. Well, it's almost time for class. I have to rush to the spell class now. Looking at the back of the senior, who left in a hurry, Ethan turned around and went to the transfiguration classroom. As a class leader, Penelope is responsible for taking care of the freshmen, but there is no need to do this. Ethan also knows the reason for this, but she doesn't hate it. There is a reward for every effort, and she just invested in advance. Besides, who can refuse the initiative of a big wave senior? Thanks to the monthly tickets of the Big Brother and Follow the Wind and Tianma Shinkung 2002. Episode 24, Fishing Enforcement. On the 2nd floor of Hogwarts, Ethan walked into the Transfiguration classroom. The first thing that caught his eye was the tabby cat lying on the podium. There was a circle of patterns around the eyes of the tabby cat, just like the glasses worn by Professor McGonagall. Ethan didn't dare to look at it anymore and hurried into the classroom. Several of his roommates were sitting and chatting. Seeing Ethan's arrival, they hurriedly greeted him. Ethan, we didn't see you after we woke up. Where have you been for so long? Getting familiar with the environment of Hogwarts with the senior. Ethan sat down directly next to Michael and didn't hide anything about it. Senior Penelope? Terry guessed the answer at a glance. Judging from the situation yesterday, Senior Penelope treated Ethan and other freshman Ravenclaw students differently. Yeah, you were so lucky. Terry was a little envious. It was almost time for class. All the Ravenclaws had arrived, and Ethan was the last one. Looking around, the classroom is almost full. It seems that there are still a few people missing from Hufflepuff and Gryffindor. His eyes collided with Cassandra, but she turned her head away the next moment. Ethan found that Cassandra was sitting alone in the Slytherin group and did not choose to sit with others. Hermione had a deskmate, and the two were still chatting. Now they seemed to be harmonious. It should be her roommate. After observing Ethan chatting with his roommate in the classroom, he suddenly noticed that a little wizard's movements were a little weird. There is fun again. Ethan immediately sat up straight and looked towards the podium without blinking. A little witch from Hufflepuff was approaching the podium cautiously, with her hands in her pockets, as if holding something. Ethan remembered that her name seemed to be Crossan Pullman. On the side of the podium, in order not to alarm the tabby cat, Crossan slowly took out the things in her pocket, dried fish. Carrying snacks with her, she is worthy of being called Hufflepuff. Holding the dried fish in one hand, she slowly approached the tabby cat, and the other hand was suspended in the air, ready to stroke the tabby cat when it was eating. She had a Mainsea ***N cat with catkin blood at home, which she had raised since childhood. If it were not for Hogwarts, where only owls, mice, and toads could be brought to school, she would definitely bring her own cat. She had not stroked a cat for 2 days, and the addiction had long been gone. Now that she saw a very cool cat, how could she miss it? If she could use the food she brought with her to lure it back to Hufflepuff, she could raise a cat openly. After all, it was not brought by herself, but a native cat of Hogwarts. Just when the dried fish was about 20 centimeters away from the cat's mouth, a group of Hufflepuff students walked in from outside the door. One of the girls quickly stepped forward, grabbed Crossan's hand, and dragged her back. Just now she was telling her friends on the way that Professor McGonagall might turn into a cat to test us, but she was just a step late, and this friend she just met yesterday almost fell into the trap. When she was about 9 years old, her sister enrolled in Gryffindor College of Hogwarts. At her request, she wrote some interesting stories about Hogwarts for herself, and she mentioned this incident. A group of little witches from Hufflepuff, before the first Transfiguration class, surrounded Professor McGonagall's cat and wanted to touch it, and she was scared to death. Ethan could clearly see that the tabby cat glanced at the little witch. It was obvious that the old cat lady was really fishing for law enforcement, and the little witch ruined Professor McGonagall's good deeds. Soon, the bell for class rang, but Professor McGonagall still did not appear. Although there was no teacher, no one dared to play and fight in the classroom because Professor McGonagall left a serious and rigid impression on the little wizards yesterday. If you dare to make trouble in her class, you will obviously not get a good result. About 10 minutes later, Professor McGonagall still hadn't arrived. Some of the young wizards couldn't sit still and started to whisper. Everyone was guessing why Professor McGonagall was late. Ethan even heard a few young wizards talking about whether Professor McGonagall forgot to attend class because of a date. Ethan was shocked to hear this. They were so bold to guess. It wasn't until the door of the classroom was suddenly pushed open that the scene quieted down. Ronald and Harry made a brilliant appearance. The two looked around the classroom nervously at first, and when they found that Professor McGonagall hadn't arrived, they were obviously relieved. If they weren't caught, they wouldn't be late. Ronald even said to Harry excitedly, "Can you imagine how ugly old McGonagall would look if he knew we were late?" Ethan, who heard all this clearly, just wanted to say one sentence, "What a trick." No matter how old a woman is, she doesn't like to hear the word old. As expected, as Ronald finished speaking, the tabby cat in the lecture jumped down from the stage, and his body began to twist and deform. Before landing, he had already turned into Professor McGonagall. Ronald, who had just smiled because Professor McGonagall had not arrived, froze immediately. Although Professor McGonagall looked unhappy, he finally achieved his goal. In the first Transfiguration class for freshmen every year, Professor McGonagall would use the animagus form to fish for law enforcement. The goal was to highlight the power of Transfiguration, attract the interest of young wizards, and shock them. "That's amazing," Ronald complimented, hoping to avoid punishment. "Thank you for your compliment, Mr. Weasley. Perhaps turning Mr. Potter and Lee into a pocket watch would be more effective. Maybe you will know the meaning of being on time." Apparently, Professor McGonagall still had a grudge against the phrase Old McGonagall. We are lost. Harry was a little worried about being late for the first class and the one who was his own dean, so he quickly explained. Then turn it into a map. After all, Professor McGonagall didn't make it too difficult for the two. You don't need a map to find your seat. Episode 25, Transfiguration. Transfiguration is the most dangerous and complex magic you will learn in Hogwarts. Professor McGonagall's sharp eyes swept all the little wizards present. If anyone dares to be naughty in my class, I will ask him to leave and never come back. The little wizards sat upright and did not dare to breathe, even the Slytherins who were not on good terms with Gryffindor. Professor McGonagall looked at the performance of the little wizards below with satisfaction, and then tapped the podium with the wand in his hand, turning it into a pig. The pig also circled the classroom and finally returned to its original position and restored its appearance as a podium. This operation caused a burst of exclamations from the little wizards below. As a veteran professor for many years, McGonagall knows how to pull the emotions of students. Then Professor McGonagall waved his wand, and the next moment the empty blackboard was filled with the basic theory of transfiguration and various precautions. Unlike other magic, transfiguration has no fixed spells and formulas. Of course, beginners can use quick transfiguration as a spell to assist in casting. Relying on the understanding of the essence of magic, through your own huge mental power, based on magic, the things in your mind can be transformed into the real world, changing the properties and structure of objects, and it must be something you have sufficient knowledge of. Professor McGonagall pointed at the knowledge points on the blackboard with his wand and explained to the young wizards. However, transfiguration cannot produce food, let alone eat the food produced by transfiguration. Secondly, it cannot change the quantity. A feather pen cannot produce 2 pigeons. Finally, transfiguration is not something out of nothing. It must have a certain medium. After Professor McGonagall finished explaining, the young wizards took out their feather pens and took notes. Although Ethan knew all this knowledge, he still recorded it. After the explanation, it was time for practice. Professor McGonagall gave each young wizard a match. The next topic was to turn the match into a needle. Professor McGonagall did not intend to let these little wizards complete this learning in one class. This is a long process, but once completed, transfiguration will be considered as an entry. The transformation between still objects is the simplest, especially between objects of the same small size and simple. I want you to become a needle, not a charcoal. Calm down and focus. No matter how much you poke the match with your wand, it will not change. Professor McGonagall kept walking in the classroom corridor, correcting the mistakes of the little wizards. Especially on Hufflepuff's side, Professor McGonagall stayed for a particularly long time. Ethan, how did you do it? Michael looked at the match in front of Ethan, which was constantly changing in 3 sizes after it turned into a needle, and exclaimed. The two sitting in front also turned their heads. Their matches had not changed at all, but Ethan had succeeded. The gap was too big. At this moment, everyone wanted to hear what tricks Ethan had. The more specific the image of the needle in your mind is, the easier it will be to succeed. Also, control your magic power, don't light the match, and finally read what Professor McGonagall wrote on the blackboard before trying again. I actually practiced transfiguration during the summer vacation, so I succeeded so quickly. As long as you understand what Professor McGonagall said, even if you can't turn into a needle directly, it's still no problem to change. But it's really hard to say how to change specifically. Mr. Adrian, a very good transfiguration. Professor McGonagall walked to Ethan's side, looked at the scene in front of him, and said with great satisfaction. When I first visited him, I felt that Ethan had a high talent for transfiguration, but it was a pity that he still didn't come to Gryffindor. Because of Mr. Adrian's excellent transfiguration spell, Ravenclaw gets 5 points. Picking up the needle that Ethan had transformed, Professor McGonagall announced in public. In an instant, the eyes of the whole classroom turned to Ethan, and the little eagles of Ravenclaw were particularly excited, and applause broke out. It's him again. Yesterday's had embarrassment, today's transfiguration class, a mudblood. Why is he always the one who steals the show? Draco Malfoy looked at Ethan fiercely, but didn't dare to show it. After all, he really couldn't beat Ethan. He didn't dare to tell his father. If he said that he was beaten by a mudblood, such a shameful thing would be unspeakable. He didn't dare to tell the senior students of Slytherin. If they knew, the Malfoy family might be ridiculed for 2.5 years. Cassandra and Hermione increased the speed of waving their wands. They both wanted to compete with Ethan today. Especially Cassandra. She lost the fire spell competition on the train yesterday, but she was fighting in the Transfiguration class today, overwhelmed Ethan's idea of winning glory for Slytherin. "Thank you, Professor." Ethan smiled and thanked. Just now, at the moment when Professor McGonagall added points, another achievement was completed. Point slave. Points, constantly rising points. I can give everything for higher points. Achievement goal. Add points to the school once, 1-to-1. Achievement reward. Transfiguration talent improvement. This reward is really necessary. Maybe it's the points added in the Transfiguration class, so it's the Transfiguration talent. One class lasted only an hour, not long. When the class was about to end, there was a cry from Slytherin. "Professor McGonagall, we Slytherins also succeeded." This was the voice of a little wizard who was a little excited. He was looking in the direction of Cassandra, and he was quite excited. If you didn't know him, you would think he succeeded. Although he didn't win the first place, he also beat Gryffindor. Professor McGonagall walked over and smiled. She didn't expect that two little wizards would succeed in the first class. She didn't have any prejudice against Slytherin, but it was a pity that there was no one in her own academy who was not successful. After showing the silver-white needle, she announced, Ms. Volley also succeeded. Slytherin added 2 points. But Cassandra was not very happy. Thanks to the big brother theirs. Episode 26, After School Tutoring. Professor McGonagall, do you have time to answer a few questions for me? After class, Ethan ran towards Professor McGonagall. Compared to spells, Ethan's progress in Transfiguration this summer was much slower, and he was always stuck at the second step, which was the transformation of still life and animals. Of course. Professor McGonagall nodded with a smile. Before entering Hogwarts, Professor McGonagall said that Ethan could ask her if he had any questions he didn't understand. This was of course no joke, even though Ethan had not entered Gryffindor College. Come with me first, let's talk in the office. She took Ethan away with her. In her opinion, Ethan's level was not at the same level as these little wizards, and the questions he asked were definitely not what should be taught at this stage. For these little wizards who couldn't even master the basics, knowing more advanced knowledge was completely useless. They would only think more and still fail to transform. Volume, really too volume. The moment Ethan approached Professor McGonagall, Cassandra's eyes were fixed on Ethan. I didn't expect that after Ethan had completed a small goal of transfiguration, he would still go to the professor for extra lessons. He didn't give others a chance to live. Such a person deserves to die. From the first time I saw Ethan, I knew that this person was a hard worker, and he also took me with him. After all, that normal little wizard would buy all the textbooks until graduation before entering school. He couldn't get ahead at all. I don't know if this person is studying during his sleep time, and he is studying hard at the cost of his life. Cassandra felt depressed when she thought of this. But she soon cheered up and strode out of the classroom. There were no classes in the morning, so she went to the library. Thanks to the completion of Transfiguration, she and Ethan had no homework. She was the pride of Slytherin, and she couldn't just give up. And Hermione looked down at her match that had changed in material, that is, the iron match, and then looked at Ethan following Professor McGonagall and Cassandra who was leaving. He immediately put the iron match in his pocket and walked quickly to the Gryffindor dormitory. He must succeed in transformation today. The other little wizards didn't think so much. The main theme of the British Academy is happy education. They were still discussing how to write homework. The wizarding world also has homework. When the class was about to end, Professor McGonagall assigned a 1-foot, just over 30 centimeters, transfiguration paper to be handed in the next transfiguration class. Professor McGonagall, let me show you first. In the office, Ethan took out a button and turned into a small and exquisite beetle at the moment when the wand pointed at the button. From the appearance, Ethan's transformed beetle is no different from the real beetle. Whether it is the 8 legs below, the pattern on the back shell, or the antennae on the top of the head, these are impeccable. But it just won't move. According to the theory in intermediate transfiguration, Ethan did not succeed no matter what. Still life to still life to animal, animal to animal, transformation of fantastic beasts and spells, and finally mythical creatures. These are the stages that Ethan thinks. Knowing that the upper limit of transfiguration is extremely high, Ethan initially focused on transfiguration except for occlumency, but the progress was limited to the basic transfiguration guide, which is the first stage. It's not that he didn't ask the 3 people in Nocturne Alley, but the 3 of them didn't understand it themselves. There was no choice but to put transfiguration aside and focus on spells. Very good transfiguration, better than I was back then. Professor McGonagall took the beetle in his hand and observed it, saying that it was invisible, but it was only 1 step away. It's still a little bit of cognition. When performing transfiguration, it doesn't become a living thing, the living thing you imagine, but it is a living thing. This requires. Although Professor McGonagall's words were a bit vague, Ethan still understood some of it. This is still related to consciousness. Transfiguration in subjective consciousness, thinking that it is oneself who gives it transformation and life, often can only have its form. Only subconsciously, deep in the heart, it has already recognized that this is the creature that one wants to transform. Can it be successful? But will it really not make oneself schizophrenic? Then Ethan took out the intermediate transfiguration. Ethan wrote down all the problems he encountered at the beginning, and he also had his own opinions in many places. Professor McGonagall saw this and took it directly, while flipping through it and answering the questions above. It is well written with his own opinions, although there are still some problems. So, you put it here first, and when I have time, I will help you answer it, and I will leave a small note in it. It is definitely impossible to explain it all at once. Later, she will go to teach the little wizards in the 3rd grade, so now she can only choose this method. And her Transfiguration Club was established for wizards who have participated in the OWLS exams after the 5th grade, have excellent transfiguration scores, and are interested in it. Ethan is only in the 1st grade, and it is not suitable even if he has high talent. Hogwarts has not had a master of transfiguration since herself, and she is very much looking forward to Ethan becoming the next one, so she will not be stingy with her knowledge. Thank you, Professor. Ethan was overjoyed, and this would take up a lot of personal time. I took a look, and some of your ideas are very novel, which I have never considered before, which is also good for me. I also recommend that you subscribe to the Transfiguration Today magazine, 5 gold galleons a year, which will be helpful to you. Without systematic learning, the sudden inspiration is often very bold and novel. Although there are many problems, it also gives Professor McGonagall a new direction for thinking. After asking a few more questions that he couldn't figure out, Ethan stood up and said goodbye when the class was almost about to start. When leaving the office, Ethan was very satisfied. Just some of the questions that Professor McGonagall had just answered were at least enough for his transfiguration to continue to move forward. Thanks to the monthly ticket from the Big Brother Feluwuma. Thank you, Big Brother. Episode 27, Reasons for Choosing Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw Common Room. Ethan ignored the gazes of his roommates Terry and the other 2 and walked straight to another direction. Senior, can I sit here? Ethan held the book Alternative Spells of Transfiguration in his hand and came to the sofa and smiled at a quiet girl with black hair and black eyes who was reading a book. Generally, when there are no classes, the young wizards of Ravenclaw like to read in the library or the common room, so there are not many empty seats in the common room. If Ethan has to choose between roommates and seniors, it is naturally better to sit with the senior. There is only one Asian in the whole Hogwarts, and she is completely different from the one in the movie, with a fresh and elegant beauty. Ah, you sit. The senior immediately moved aside to leave more space for Ethan. Xiao Zhang still knew Ethan, had embarrassment assigned to Ravenclaw. Ethan didn't rush to talk, and began to look through the books in his hand, which he had just found from the internal library of Ravenclaw. Being able to publish a book and pass it down, it can prove that he has his own understanding of transfiguration and that someone agrees with his views. On the other side, Terry, Michael, and Jean were worrying about the parchment. The transfiguration paper was due this Wednesday. Although in class, after listening to Ethan's explanation, the 3 matches changed without turning into charcoal, but the 3 of them had not yet figured out how to write the paper. They just wanted Ethan to come over and listen to his opinion. Maybe they could get some clues. Unexpectedly, this guy went to flirt with the senior again. Now the 3 of them have seen Ethan's true nature. Don't you do your homework? Xiao Zhang closed the book and put it down, pointing to the little wizards on the side, and asked Ethan curiously. Ravenclaw students never leave homework overnight, usually finish it on the same day, which is completely opposite to Gryffindor. Actually, I don't really need to write, because I have completed today's transfiguration task. Ethan smiled slightly and gave an answer that Xiao Zhang did not expect. She is a sophomore who has just been promoted this year. Last year, no one in her class could complete the transformation of a matchstick in the first class. She knows how difficult it is. For her, it was the second week, that is, the third class, when she perfectly turned the matchstick into a needle. Her progress is quite fast. She is worthy of being called hat embarrassment. Even the sorting hat is entangled with this little wizard. This talent is really high. Senior sister is planning to adulterate the selection of the Quidditch Academy team. Ethan also saw the book Flying with the Artillery Team in Qiu Zhang's hand. Just by looking at the title, he knew that it was related to Quidditch. Well, the Quidditch selection will start in a few days. I don't know if I can be selected. Now I want to learn more Quidditch skills. Qiu Zhang nodded. She likes Quidditch very much, and her goal is to be a seeker. If it's the senior, it's definitely okay, Ethan said with certainty. In the original book, Qiu Zhang was a member of the Ravenclaw Quidditch team. I hope so, Qiu Zhang. The senior stretched out her right hand with a smile on her face. Ethan Adrian. The three roommates who kept an eye on Ethan looked at the scene and couldn't help shaking their heads. They started chatting so quickly. Is the senior so easy to flirt with? They all began to suspect that Ethan had entered Ravenclaw. They heard from the senior that as a hat, he had the characteristics of multiple colleges. Among Ravenclaw and other colleges, the reason why Ethan came to Ravenclaw might be because the seniors in Ravenclaw were of the highest quality. This is recognized by all Hogwarts. After all, which college received more love letters than Ravenclaw? The afternoon class was History of Magic. After the public execution in the Transfiguration class in the morning, Harry and Ronald were finally not late. Because before Ethan came, the two of them had already had a fight with Draco Malfoy. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, they might have fought. Because of Ethan's intervention, at this point in time, the grudge between them was even greater than in the original book. Before sitting down, Ethan also greeted Hermione and Cassandra. Cassandra nodded in response. Among all the Hogwarts classmates, only Ethan could be her opponent, which led to her treating Ethan differently from others. If other people greeted her, they would probably be ignored by her. Hermione responded with a puffed face. She remembered that when she got up early this morning to eat breakfast, Ethan and the female head of Ravenclaw were talking and laughing together, and at noon, they were replaced by an Asian girl. Obviously, I came first. As a result, every time we met, I was either said to have big front teeth or big front teeth. The bell rang, and a ghost who looked very old floated in. Finally, I know why the history of magic is the most boring course. Cuthbert Binns' voice is so deep that it seems like hypnosis. He doesn't ask questions and doesn't care what the students are doing. He just reads the textbook. Less than 10 minutes into the class, at least 1/3 of the students have already laid down. The rest are either whispering or playing wizard chess games with their desk mates on parchment. Anyway, few people listen to the class seriously. History is very interesting, not to mention the fantasy history of wizards. For example, the process and adventures of the 4 founders of Hogwarts, the major events of Hogwarts in the past 1,000 years, the development of the wizarding world, the impact of the anti-witch movement in the Middle Ages on wizards, etc. It's just that Cuthbert Binns made the history of magic boring. Ethan also lay on the table with his eyes closed to rest, preparing for tonight's night tour. When the get out of class was over, Cuthbert Binns left the classroom on time and did not forget to leave homework. Episode 28, Night Tour. It was past 10 o'clock in the evening, and the little wizards in the same dormitory had fallen asleep. Ethan gently tapped the pillow with his wand to change it into his own appearance, so that even if someone got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, they would not notice anything. Then he took out his suitcase that had been cast with the Traceless expansion spell, and shrunk it with the shrinking spell and put it in his pocket. Silently. Traceless. After using 2 spells, Ethan opened the door of the dormitory and walked directly to the common room. As expected, the common room was empty at this moment. After leaving the common room, today's night tour was mostly successful. Night tour is an old tradition of Hogwarts. The learning career of wizards who have not been on a night tour is incomplete. The school is also deliberately indulgent in this regard. If it really wants to ban it, it can be said that Dumbledore's eyes are all over the campus. Those moving armor, moving paintings, and even Peeves and ghosts can provide him with convenience. Once this happens, who else can go on a night tour? So the little wizards who can understand this all know that the rule of Hogwarts is that only if you are caught, it is considered a violation. But this also explains why so many Hogwarts graduates go to Azkaban for further study. If you don't follow the rules during school, it's not a violation if you don't get caught. And after graduation, this habit will naturally continue, but if you are not good at learning and are caught, you need to go to Azkaban for further study. Walking on the spiral staircase, Ethan's goal at this moment is also very clear: the room of requirement. Ethan also remembers the location, which is on the 8th floor of Hogwarts Castle, opposite the tapestry where the troll hit the silly Barnabas with a stick. Normally, it is invisible and it won't come out, but as long as you concentrate on thinking about the place you need and walk through that wall 3 times, a very smooth door will appear on the wall, and then you will enter the room of requirement. The only trouble is that the principal's office is also on the 8th floor, and Dumbledore sometimes uses the room of requirement as a toilet. If he were to encounter it, it would be troublesome. Ethan didn't think his magic could escape his eyes, even if he used shadow stealth. He actually got the achievement. Just as Ethan walked out of the tower belonging to Ravenclaw, the achievement prompt came again. Sure enough, there are surprises everywhere. Rules. Rules, what rules? My rules are the rules. Achievement goal: violation of Hogwarts school rules, 1-1. Achievement reward: improved physical fitness, increased upper limit. In an instant, Ethan felt like he was electrocuted. His whole body was numb and trembling. If he hadn't been holding onto the wall, he would have fallen down. This feeling came and went quickly. Ethan, who recovered, had an illusion that he could kill a cow with 1 punch. At the same time, Ethan also felt that his magic power had increased significantly. This is also related to Ethan's talent, strong body. Through exercise, physical fitness is improved while improving the adaptability of magic power, that is, magic power. Now directly improving physical fitness will indirectly improve magic power, but I don't know where the upper limit is and whether I can compete with Hagrid in the future. Hey, you two again. Just as he stepped onto the stairs to the 2nd floor, Ethan heard a sharp and rampant voice. George, Fred, where is the dung egg you promised me last semester? No one can deceive Peeves. Meow. A cat meowed upstairs, followed by a burst of hurried footsteps. It was obviously Filch who heard the noise and rushed over. Adrian, don't stand there, follow us and run. Ethan stood there without moving, but 2 little wizards who looked the same ran towards Ethan quickly and directly pointed out Ethan's location, with a black-skinned fat man chasing behind them. Ethan was confused. No, my disillusionment charm is fake? This thing smiled with its mouth wide open, floating in the air without touching the ground. Ethan knows some information about Peeves. It is not a ghost, but can have a physical body and touch objects. It was born with Hogwarts Castle and is born to play pranks. Peeves, all petrified. With a flick of the wand, Peeves immediately turned gray and fell from midair, and then Ethan quickly followed the Weasley brothers. Not long after, the 2 brothers opened a secret door and motioned Ethan to follow. After removing the disillusionment spell, Ethan was sandwiched between them. After entering, he found that the passage was narrow and dark. The Weasley in front used the illumination spell. After walking a long distance, he finally left the passage and successfully arrived at an abandoned classroom. I am George Weasley, and this is my brother Fred Weasley. Adrian, we know you. My brother told me that on the Hogwarts Express, you helped him teach Malfoy a lesson, and your petrification spell just now was quite handsome. A Weasley put his arm around Ethan's shoulders, looking quite enthusiastic. Although the Malfoys and the Weasleys are relatives, they are extremely hostile to each other, and they also know that the other side is backed by Voldemort and Dumbledore. For this reason, Lucius Malfoy would make things difficult for Arthur Weasley whenever he had the chance, and embarrassed him many times, and Draco also laughed at their family. Those who helped Ronald deal with Malfoy were their friends. That's why they reminded Ethan to run away. Ethan Adrian, nice to meet you. But how did you see through my disillusionment spell? My own spell level should not be so bad. It was actually seen through by a 3rd-year wizard. This is it. It can clearly show every wizard in Hogwarts. Look at Filch, who is looking around like a headless fly, and we have already reached the 5th floor. Fred took out a piece of parchment and pointed it to Ethan. At this moment, the names of the 4 people were together. This was found in Filch's office last school year. While telling them a lot of Hogwarts secret passages, it also provided great help for night tours. Looking at the names of Prongs, Moony, Wormtail, and Padfoot, it is indeed the Marauders map, but I didn't expect them to get it so early. The original book seems to have appeared in the 3rd grade. Episode 29, Fred and George. We think you shouldn't be sorted into Ravenclaw, but Gryffindor. Really, I've never seen that little wizard go out at night right after school. Even we dared to do so a month later. The twins talked back and forth. When they saw Ethan's name appearing in the hall, they couldn't believe their eyes. Ravenclaw's little eagle actually went out at night just after school started? I even suspected that there was something wrong with the sorting hat. This performance was definitely a standard Gryffindor, too bold. Since getting the Marauders map, according to observation, the Gryffindor Night Tour team is the largest. Not counting the two brothers and Lee Jordan, who is occasionally pulled out, the other students are not quiet. The second is the Slytherin students. Their traces can be found from time to time. Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff are almost gone except for a few exceptions. Actually, the sorting hat also said that I have the spirit of Gryffindor, but after thinking about it, I still chose Ravenclaw. Okay, you are a hat-shy. You can't judge with common sense, but we still think you should come to Gryffindor. George said undeniably. A little wizard who likes night outings and beats Slytherin, it would be a waste of talent if he didn't come to Gryffindor. You can't say that. There are many little witches in Ravenclaw and they are beautiful. You should admit this. Ethan gave the two of them a look that could only be understood. Puh. Damn it, why didn't I think of this before? I should have let George go to Ravenclaw. His intelligence can prove that I am smart. Fred slapped his forehead fiercely. Some of his classmates are already in love, but the object is also Gryffindor. Some have confessed to the little witches in Ravenclaw, but were rejected with the reason of you are too stupid. Why not you go? Fred looked at George. Although it is important to find a girlfriend in the future, Gryffindor is still the best college in his heart. I'm your brother, you should listen to me. Fred patted George's shoulder and said solemnly. You were just born a little earlier than me. Okay, you two are both born Gryffindors, you can't go to Ravenclaw. Ethan interrupted the two, he didn't want to see them playing tricks now. You're right, we are born Gryffindors. The brothers said at the same time, the argument just now was just a joke. Just now you said that the disillusionment charm is useless, Filch should not have this map. Ethan still didn't quite understand, the disillusionment charm was related to his night travel plan. Although shadow stealth is also useful, Ethan also has the ability to not be seen and not be discovered to cast spells, but coming out of the shadows will inevitably be seen by portraits and so on. You know, they are all alive, and it will be troublesome if he tells Dumbledore. Normally, it's okay to go out at night. As long as you don't get caught on the spot, Dumbledore will just laugh it off. But if you use a magic that he hasn't seen before, and it's a young wizard who has just entered school, this is a big problem. No one will believe you if you say you invented it. Even Snape invented the spell several years after he entered school. That's why Ethan uses the disillusionment charm to go out at night. Last year, one of our Gryffindors was caught using the disillusionment charm. He heard that he was discovered by a cat. Mrs. Norris has catkin's blood and super keen intuition. George explained. I see. Ethan knew that catkins are keenly sensed. In the original book, Hermione's cat Crookshanks also has catkin's blood. He can sense that Scabbers, who is a mouse in the eyes of normal people, is not a good thing, but he didn't expect that he could rely on intuition to sense the disillusionment charm. Filch has gone to the first floor. We can go out. Fred took a look at the Marauders map and confirmed Filch's location. Amazing alchemical work, the one who made this is a genius. Ethan also had to sigh. Although it is just a Marauders map, it uses a lot of spells and alchemical knowledge. It is true that each generation in the wizarding world is inferior to the previous one. Snape invented several spells when he was a student, including the powerful black magic of the God of Sharpness. Except for Lupin, the werewolf, all the 4 members of the Marauders are illegal animagus, and they completed it during school. Having animagus means that they have a very high understanding of transfiguration. Being able to make a Marauders map can also prove their ability in spells and alchemy. Look at the young wizards now. Who can complete animagus or invent spells during school? They know how to disarm you every day. I don't know if it has something to do with Dumbledore confiscating many books in the restricted section of the Hogwarts library. This is indeed an amazing alchemical prop. I really want to meet them. Fred and I are also learning alchemy. We will definitely make better and more popular alchemical props in the future. Fred also nodded in agreement. Yes, our ideal is to open a Weasley magic trick shop and fill our joke shop with our invented products. Do you know Zonka's joke shop and jumping and playing magic joke shop? They are the most popular shops in Hogsmeade Village and Diagon Alley respectively, and our ideal is to open a joke shop that surpasses them. George's eyes were full of yearning. The two brothers had this idea when they first entered Zonko's joke shop. And they have been saving money to prepare for opening a shop in the future, but there are too many brothers in the family, resulting in no pocket money, and they have not saved much until now. I believe you can definitely open the best joke product store. For other people's dreams, Ethan will not belittle. Besides, the Weasley brothers did achieve this in the future. Although they were funded by Harry, the core of opening a shop is still the product. Their Weasley Wizard Wheezes was really popular, and even the Ministry of Magic would purchase products later. The talents of these two brothers are beyond doubt. The production of these joke products involves potions, alchemy, and spells. It is not easy to integrate them. If the two of them put their thoughts into practice, they would not have such a tragic ending. Episode 30, The Three-Headed Dew. We are going to the corridor on the right side of the 4th floor today. There must be something there. Ethan, are you the same as us? After chatting for a while, George got down to business. They don't go out for a night tour every day. Today, they really can't stand the temptation of Dumbledore's last words yesterday. It's just like Roger's words before his death. Do you want my treasure? If you want, I can give it all to you. Go find it. I'll put all my treasures there. It's the same attraction to pirates. Dumbledore's words have the same effect on these Gryffindor little lions who have the so-called adventurous spirit and are proud of it. No, my goal is the 8th floor. Ethan has nothing to hide. With the Marauder's map, they can clearly see where they are. Although the Room of Requirement is not in it, and people who enter the Room of Requirement will not be displayed by the Marauder's map, but the place where they disappeared last can definitely be seen. The 8th floor? The room opposite the tapestry where the troll hit Barnabas with his club, George asked in surprise. Apart from the principal's office, that was the only room he could think of on the 8th floor. But that room was not easy to find. They had seen Dumbledore disappear in front of that wall through the Marauder's map, and some house elves would disappear there, and then suddenly appear again, and they were curious about it, so they found it. Well, that's it, you know? Ethan was shocked. The twins also knew it? In the original book, it seemed that Dobby told Harry. He worked at Hogwarts and heard it from other house elves. He didn't expect it to be discovered so early. We use that place as a base for product research and development. Ethan, how did you know it? The twins looked at each other. The secret base was discovered. They thought no little wizard would know this location. This room is really useful. If you want to make potions or alchemy, it can provide a place, but it can't directly provide gold galleons, which makes them a little regretful. I found it in an old textbook full of notes, and it mentions such a room. The words came out of his mouth casually. Anyway, the Room of Requirement is a semi-public secret in Hogwarts, and there are not a few students who know it in the past 1,000 years. On the opposite side of the tapestry where the troll club hit Barnabas, as long as you concentrate on your needs and walk through that wall 3 times, a very smooth door will appear on the wall. Just go in. Since Ethan knew it, the twins did not hide it and told him about their experience of entering. Okay, I understand. Ethan nodded to confirm. Are you going to the corridor on the 4th floor with us now, or going directly to the 8th floor? Leaving the abandoned classroom, Fred asked. Dumbledore said that there might be life-threatening situations there. The Mirror of Erised should still be in Dumbledore's office, and the Philosopher's Stone should not be there, but the three-headed dog must be there. The three-headed dog is a dangerous magical animal of XXXXX level. Ordinary adult wizards are just snacks in front of it, and underage wizards are just there to deliver food. Is this old man Dumbledore really not afraid of any accidents? I don't know what the three-headed dog is in the XXXXX level, but it takes 100 adult wizards to subdue the poison sac panther. Even if this three-headed dog is not as good, it will take at least more than 10 adult wizards to kill it. In the original book, Snape was bitten on one thigh. It may be because he didn't want to kill Fluffy, or he was careless and was attacked by Fluffy, but it can be seen that this thing is not easy to deal with. Fred retorted, I don't think Dumbledore will really allow anything life-threatening to appear in Hogwarts. At most, it is a difficulty in the adventure process. George agreed. Yes, we have been to the Forbidden Forest several times, but we didn't encounter any danger. It seems that Hagrid has had a lot of headaches since the twin brothers entered Hogwarts. This spirit of seeking death is really awesome. There are definitely many dangerous animals in the Forbidden Forest, including several of the XXXXX level, especially after Hagrid moved in. You are just lucky if you haven't been bitten to pieces. I'm curious to go with you guys. It's already said so much. If I don't go now, I'm afraid I'll really be crying. Following George and Fred, they are more familiar with Hogwarts. It wasn't long before they came to the right side of the 4th floor. After a while of groping, Fred confirmed that the locked door was behind the location Dumbledore said. "It's here, open it." George picked up the wand and cast an unlocking spell. There was no lock in the whole Hogwarts that he didn't dare to open. Ethan's eyelids were twitching, but he still reminded, "Wait, go in slowly, it's right to be careful." George turned around and spread his hands. "Ethan, are you so cautious?" After that, he walked in first, and Fred beside him followed closely. This was really reckless. Should I say he is worthy of being a Gryffindor? As soon as Ethan came in, he found that George and Fred in front of him were motionless, and their bodies were still shaking. Tilting his head, Ethan saw a three-headed dog lying in front of him sleeping, drooling all over the ground along the three dog heads. Just like in the movie, this thing is so ugly, not at all like the legendary three-headed dog of hell. Ethan suspected that this thing was a cross between a three-headed dog and a cane corso. The dog head was too much like a cane corso. Fred trembled and whispered, "This is Fluffy. I didn't expect it to be here." "Do you know it?" "I know it, but it shouldn't know me," Fred said, motioning everyone to get out quickly. Because the three-headed dog had begun to raise its head, it was obvious that Ethan and others had still alarmed it. The two brothers who had entered the Forbidden Forest many times had of course seen this big guy, but they had only seen it when the three-headed dog was not so big and followed Hagrid. Later, Hagrid asked them to keep it a secret, and for this reason, Hagrid took them around the outer perimeter of the Forbidden Forest. "Ethan, you go out first. The name is wrong, the protagonist of the previous book." George took out his wand and signaled Ethan to go first. After all, they were seniors in the 3rd grade and could resist to some extent. Because in just a short while, the three-headed dog had completely stood up, at least 4 meters tall, with its head touching the ceiling, 3 mouths drooling and open wide. The whole body was tense, obviously a sign of a vicious dog pouncing on its prey.